If you're a crazy vinyl digger like me, then obviously you gotta love the dollar records. Now you can find dollar records anywhere. Thrift stores, a lot of record shops have a dollar section. Uh, Garage sales and flea markets. They're everywhere. It's not like they're hard to find. But when you find those super cool, super scarce, super rare, super expensive gems, you just gotta love it. Now, every record digger has a ton of records that they found somewhere or another for $1. And obviously, I'm no different. But there comes these different times where you just find these super exciting records, and they're exciting either because it's something you've been looking for a long time, or something that you want that's usually really expensive, or you just happen to find a better copy of something that you already have. But the bottom line is they're a lot more money usually when you come across them, if you come across them at all. So what I want to do today is I want to show you some of the coolest, some of the rarest, some of the most expensive records that I found in dollar bins in different places, and just tell you about those. So I pulled out 10 records from my collection that I want to share with you guys. And this is definitely going to become an ongoing series because I've got a ton to show you. But let's look at these 10, all right? Ready? All right, let's get started. So we're going to start off hot, I would say. And I want to show you this cool record. So what is it? Sound of Unity and Love. This is a great album. I found this record at a music store here called Zia Records. They have one or two in. They have one in Tucson. They have two, I believe, in Las Vegas. But there's like 5 or 6 of them here. Now, when I first moved here in '98, Zia was an incredible place. It was basically like a vinyl Goodwill. There was nothing in that shop over a few bucks. All of the 12 inches, no matter what it was, were 99 cents. And the albums were between 99 and 199. Now that was 90, probably 95% of every piece of vinyl in the entire store, no matter what it was. And a lot of their albums, they would reshrink. If there was an album that they consider to be expensive or rare or whatever, then you're looking at maybe $3.99 for it. So it was, for years, it was incredible. The people who the people who worked there didn't know much about music, and that, for the most part, hasn't changed at all. uh, at some point, right around 2000, 2007, 2008, they actually, I guess they gave it a shot and tried to become a serious record shop, and it didn't work out very well. Long story short, they have no idea what they're doing in terms of pricing, and I'm not here to necessarily bash them. There's some things I can bash them about, and I've made some videos about that. Go look at my it's Prince Black video. Anyway, at some point they were trying to, I guess, become a serious vinyl shop, and they started ordering new records, and their prices just skyrocketed, especially like for rap music. But we'll come back to that aspect. Anyway, I was in the Tucson store when I found this. Now, this originally came out in 1971. This happens to be the 1994 reissue of it. One Dead Giveaway, and this is a UK pressing of the reissue. One Dead Giveaway is the picture sleeve is a lot brighter, and there's like more heavy yellow in here. It's just a brighter. The original uh, pressing of this, it's just a lot darker, and you don't see as much of this yellow, mixed with this brown in here. Kind of the the top level of this picture sleeve has just a yellow, more of a brighter yellow look. The original is a lot darker. So, but hey, I'll take it anyway. Actually, this was $1.99, so it's a little bit more than $1. But hey, for a record like this, doesn't make any difference to me. But this was a great find because at the time that I found this, the if you can find them, the original was going for a whole lot more money. Even this version was going for a whole lot more money. I don't know what it goes for nowadays, but I bet it don't go for $1.99. You feel me on that one? Okay, so this next one is, this was cool. This is Weldon Irvine Cosmic Vortex. You gotta love this one. I found this at another local record store that's no longer around. It was called, oh man, I forgot the record store. They've been closed for some years now. Is it Revolver? Revolver Records. Revolver Records. So this was another store that started off super duper strong. Those first 5-6 years that they were open, it was just all kinds of jewels in there, this, that, and the other thing. So, but eventually, one of the guys that was in there, I guess he was a co-owner, left. And after he left, to me, it just seemed like the place just went downhill. So I'm in there one night, and I see these boxes of records, and none of them are priced or whatever. And I had already had a few dollar records in my hand that were actually from the dollar bin. And I grabbed this record, and I also grabbed I actually grabbed another Weldon Irvine record, but it was a reissue. This is an OG. I don't know if you can see that, but it's got like some really bad water damage right here. Like it's kind of ruffling there. You can see the ring wear. You kind of see the cracking back there and the staining back there. So this definitely came in contact with some water. But the vinyl, I don't know if you can even see that. Probably not. Yeah, there you go. The vinyl, it's like VG. You know what I mean? No skips. There's a little surface noise, but who cares on a classic like this one? For those who know, they know how rare this record is or how expensive this record can go. So, like I said, they weren't priced. So I only had like maybe 4 records, and I went up to the counter, and I go, how much? And the guy who's working in there, he goes, 99 cents each. The 2 that I had from the actual 99-cent boxes, that was obvious. But I asked about this one and the other, the reissue of a different album. I can't think of the name of it. It's the one like brown. I think there's like Weldon drawn on it, and I think it's like flowers. Kind of got a hippie look to it. Forgive me, I don't remember what the name of that one is called. But anyway, 99 cents. Man, come on. Come on. Weldon Irvine, his records are some of the rarest and pricey records out there. So if you come across an OG copy of any of his vinyl, you have struck the jackpot. And this It's a cool record. Um, the next one I want to show you. This is Gil Scott-Heron and Brian Jackson. My favorite album by them, Winter in America. All of the albums that they did together are my favorite Gil Scott records, period. This album, for those of you who know, you know, this is a beautiful, beautiful album. Just so soulful and jazzy, and I just love this record. I was visiting Atlanta, and I was at a flea market with my sister. My sister, or I found some records, and maybe a stack like that. It was probably, I don't know, a dozen records or so. And I stepped away for a minute for some reason. And by the time I came back, my sister had talked the guy down to basically, it was the equivalent of maybe $1.30 a record, $1.20 per record, something crazy like that. And the cool part is, I bought this, and I bought all of the records that were there, but to find this for that amount was crazy. And this is like this copy is kind of worn and beat up. It does have like 4 or 5 skips, you know, 3 or 4 skips somewhere in there. And I later on I found 2 better copies at the same flea market for 99 cents a piece. So, but I don't want to get rid of this because this is so sentimental, because this, you know, that was the first copy I had, or this was the first copy I had, and I love it. I do have a better copy, and then my third copy, I sold that. So, this was great. It's a great memory. Every time I look at this record, I think of Atlanta, and I think of my sister, you know, going in. What's up, Tammy? And you know, being able to take this wonderful record home. There was all kinds of cool stuff in there. There was some Bob Marley in there, and I think it was a Bob Marley picture disc. It was all kinds of, it was some cool stuff down there. So, yeah, Winter in America, Brian Jackson, Gil Scott-Heron, beautiful record. Now, check this one out. We're going back to Weldon Irvine. This is the In Harmony record. This was another record that I found in Atlanta. I do believe I found this at a thrift store. And if you know anything about this record, you know it's very pricey, very rare. Much like the Cosmic Vortex album, these are the only times I've ever seen them out in the wild. The only times ever. And I don't remember, I don't know what this goes for now, but at the time, because I got this several years ago, this was like a $400 record. So, there you have it. And then if you look down here, well, you can't even see it, can you? Oh well. Well, that's a 99-cent price tag. And this record is in great condition. I would say VG Plus. VG Plus, absolutely. Another exciting find. Another very rare piece. And it was only 99 cents. You gotta love that. Now this one was kind of crazy. This is David Porter, Victim of the Joke. If you know, then you know. This used to be a much more expensive record than it is now. It's been a while since I looked up the value, but I remember this being a consistent $100+ record. Now, I actually had 2 of these. My first copy, which I believe is this one. No, my first copy I bought at Lotus Land Records in Milwaukee. Big ups to Kid Millions, Andy Noble, Tom Noble. I believe it was Andy that had just bought a collection. Like literally had just bought like a stack of records from somebody who just walked in off the street. And I had just found out about this record. We're talking, this is probably 2005, something like that, 2004. It was a while back. And I just found out about this record, and I go into the store and I go, "Hey, do you guys have I'm looking for that David Porter album, the one with the clown on the front." And he kind of goes, he's like, "Oh man, I think I just picked that up." So right there in front of him, and I see the guy leaving as I'm walking in. So he starts looking under there, and he pulls it out. He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "The guy just brought it in just now." So I had paid $80 for it. I got it home, and it was like a little bit more bashed than I thought it would be. I don't remember. I know it was going for a lot of money back then. So, you know, what are you gonna do? It was a done deal. But I don't know if it was a couple years later. Definitely was a few years after that. Maybe 5 or 6 years after that. I'm answering a Craigslist ad, and I call them up. They're like, "Yeah, come on through." I go down. The address takes me to a store, like a Family Dollar. It was either Family Dollar or Dollar General. It was one of those kind of stores. And I'm confused. So I walk in and I'm kind of like, huh? And the guy behind the counter said, "Hey, can I help you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I thought I was answering like a Craigslist ad." He was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, you're in the right place." I am. So he takes me to the very front aisle, and he was like, "Here's the records down in these boxes." So there was literally, those cardboard boxes that probably hold, I don't know, 120 records. He had probably, wow, he must have had like 15 or 20 of those boxes completely filled with records. I went through all of these boxes. Do you know that every record in there was country? I didn't even know that many country music albums existed. Everything in there. And I wish I had known. I mean, I didn't care at the time, but when I would think back, I wish I had known a lot more about country music. I know zero about country music, because there was probably some really good gems in there that I could have resold. I mean, all of those records I've never seen any record store have that many country music records. It was a lot. It was a lot of records. And so I go through all of these records. I get down to the last box, and I get towards the back of the box, and I find this in there. And by the way, all of the records were 99 cents a piece. All of them, buck a piece. And this was the only one that I pulled out of there. So I kept one and I sold the other one off. And I kept my 99-cent one, which was in better condition. 10 times better condition. The first one I bought was probably G plus, maybe, or maybe VG minus. And this one is VG plus. So you can't beat that. I mean, come on, you cannot beat this record for a buck. And those who know about this record, they know. They know what I'm talking about. Because I know some people watching this right now, and they're like, "Man, this dude been scoring left and right." And these were just the ones I have access to, but I have so much to show you in upcoming videos. Now, this next one is cool. This is Goody Mob Soul Food instrumental promo album, double album, as promo as it comes. So what's cool about this record is I'm from Milwaukee. I've said that a zillion times in these videos, and I would often, back in the 90s, me and the homies would go over to Chicago, and we dig for records over there. Or I would go by myself half the time too. So I would hit up like George's Music Room and Just Dance and Reckless. Am I saying that right? Reckless. But most of the time, I would go straight to Lincoln Park, and Lincoln Park, Clark Street. I would. That's where like there was a ton of record stores, and I didn't know my way around Chicago like that. So, and we had just found Clark Street on accident. Me and some buddies one time on a trip over there. So I would park my car right around Reckless, and I would walk from Reckless all the way down to no, why can I think of that store now? Oh, I cannot think of that store. The store that it was the DJ, the hardcore DJ shop that was all the way down on the other end. It was right across from what became Dick's Music. Remember Dick's Music? It was right across. Oh, it was probably one of the most, or the most popular DJ related record store in Chicago. Gramophone. Duh. I would start at Reckless, and I would go all the way down to Gramophone. And back in the 90s, in the mid to late 90s, between those two spots was anywhere, over the years, it was anywhere between 8 and 12 record stores right in between those two spots. So I used to get it in. So I don't know how I found out about this. I think it was my homeboy Rob, aka Robot. I think he found out about a store that was called Gaigano Records, and it wasn't too far from Lincoln Park, the Lincoln Park area of Chicago, near the lake. So I remember we took a drive over there, and I just remember we drove past Wrigley Field at some point. We were just driving, and then at some point we would make a left on some street, and then we found it. Anyway, so we go on Gaigano Records, and it was a very small record shop, and they didn't have a ton of stuff in there. So you walk in the front door, and there's this small room, but then you go, there was like a back room, you go, or a back door, and you go through that door, and you walk into like this giant warehouse. It must have had, they must have had 200,000 to 300,000 records in this room, and everything in this whole room was $1. Everything in there 99 cents a piece. Everything. And I didn't have the money back then that I have now. If it was now, man, I probably would have dropped $5,000 in there easy. But back then, you know, it's like you get to your limit, you know how much you can spend, and then that's where you stop. And long story short, this was one of the records that I pulled out of there. In fact, I bought like 3 copies of this, 3 or 4 copies, and I sold the other ones, and I kept this one. I thought, I love Goody Mob. Who doesn't love Goody Mob? So I picked that one up, and unfortunately, I don't remember if I ever got to that store ever again. I think it was just that one time that we got to go into that store. But I certainly, I don't know if they're still around. But if you're in that area, you might want to look them up. I certainly would. Let's talk about the Roots, y'all. This is Illadelph Half-Life. Now, I have two copies of this. One copy I got from a record pool in Milwaukee that was run by DJ Wolf D back in the 90s when this came out. And Wolf D was the kind of person that he would give you what he could on that first run. And it was only $25 a month for this record pool. And man, you would probably walk out of there with probably 50 to 75 records. And a lot of those you would just get rid of. Even if you went through everything and ended up only keeping 20 or 30 records, they were well worth that $25. And Wolf D, high school buddy of mine, cool cat, he would the next month when you came back for, the next shipment or whatever, the next pickup, if he had anything left over from the month prior, he would let you just take what you want. So if they were newly released records, he wanted to make sure everybody got, everybody equally got, a bit of everything. But if any of that stuff was left over the next month when you came, he would tell you take it. So there was a ton of these left over, and I took maybe another two or three. Now, believe it or not, the Roots were great. I mean, who doesn't love the Roots? But understand, the Roots and who they are now was completely different from who they were back then. So people just weren't grabbing this record. They weren't grabbing. There were tons of promos laying around, this, that, and the other thing. In fact, you want to hear something crazy? When I left Milwaukee to move here to Phoenix, I had those extra ones that I had. I just gave them away. I don't remember who. I just gave them away because people just weren't at them like that. So maybe a few years later, maybe 5 years later, here in Phoenix somewhere, I used to see the promos everywhere, and they were usually in the 99-cent bins. They were usually in the 99-cent bins. So, yeah, I ended up picking up another copy because this one I got signed. I don't know if you can see all those signatures. But I got this signed in 96 or 97. 97 at the Smoking Grooves tour in Wisconsin. So I wanted one that I could frame and hang up. And then I wanted one that I could just play and listen to. One that had a picture sleeve. So I ended up buying that next one for $1. Not quite sure where I bought it. But yeah, isn't that crazy to think that these records were just everywhere and the promos were everywhere? And I was like heavy in the nightclubs back then. And it wasn't like, I can't think of any Roots songs that you would play that people would get busy to on the dance floor. They weren't that kind of group with that kind of sound. Speaking of Roots, let's go to Game Theory. So Game Theory, and we're going to go back to Zia Records here in Phoenix. I got the Game Theory in there for $1. It might have been $1.99 actually, now that I think about it. But they used to get tons and tons of promo vinyl, promo rap vinyl. And they would put either 99 cents or $1.99 on it. I got so much butter out of there. I remember finding a stack of Ant Banks, I think it was his first and second album, like promo copies, just like a stack of them in there for 99 cents a piece. So it was just known back then, they get these promos in. And like I said, right around 2007 or, no, actually right around 2004, 2005, these instantly shot up to like $8.99. And it was almost as if, and I saw a lot of record stores do this over the years, it was almost as if, hey, they thought, hey, rap music is popular and people like it. A lot more people than we realize like it. And we got to start charging higher prices for it. So records like this in that store went from being 99 cents to $1.99. They shot up to like $8.99. And people still didn't buy the stuff. Trust me, I was in them stores back then heavy. And those records sat around for years and years and years and years. It wasn't until much later that you started seeing them disappear here or there, here or there. But their pricing was outrageous. It just got outrageous. Matter of fact, let me share this story with you. They had Dennis Coffey Hearing Things reissue album at one of their stores. Now you could buy this brand new for $12. They had a reissue in there and it was $90. And I remember telling one of the employees, I said, hey, you know this is a reissue. He goes, oh, no. No, that's an original pressing. That's an original. And $90 is a good price for that. And at the time, an original pressing was going for like $200-$300, like all day. And he was like, $90, that's a great price. It's a great price. And I go, all right. And it was like that every time I would go in there. You would see the most outlandish prices for some of these records. I remember there's an African rock group called Wells Fargo. I remember when that album came out. And I went to one of their stores and they had one on the wall and it was like $49.99, I want to say. And it was a new release. And their copy, the copy that they had was it was open. You could go online, buy a brand new sealed copy of that record, and even with shipping, it came out to be $21 back then. So it was like they had no idea what they were doing in terms of pricing. It's still like that today. I barely go in there, and when I do, I only go in there to find out what falls through the cracks. They have some cool stuff that falls through the cracks, and then I come in and swoop in. We're not going to get into that, though. But anyway, I know a couple people that work in there or that used to work in there, and they all admitted to me that no, they have no idea on how to price stuff. So most of the time, something's going to be ridiculously overpriced, or something's going to fall through the cracks, and they're not going to have any idea, and you're going to get $100 record, $150, a $200 record, a $50 record, and it's going to be 99 cents or $2.99 or $3.99, something like that. Anyway, so I just wanted to point that I remember seeing just stacks of these at the different stores. I wish I had bought them when they were $1 a piece or $1.99 a piece, but hey, what are you gonna do? Like I said, the roots weren't like they are now. We're gonna go back to Zia Records again. Once again, at the Tucson store, I should say. It was the same store that I picked up the soul record. And this one was another record that they had, and I got it for, this one was definitely $1.99. I found 2 copies of this in 2 different stores, 2 different Zia stores, one Phoenix store, one Tucson store, and they were both $1.99. Now, I remember in the Tucson store, I found like a ton of R&B, soul, jazz, old stuff, and they were in these boxes underneath, one of the bins or whatever. And I pulled some stuff out of there, and I took it up to the counter. And I said, hey, these weren't priced. How much are they? And the guy went through them. He was like, $1.99 a piece. Sold. All day sold. And I even remember the copy that I bought at the Phoenix store. Man, somebody had brought in an incredible jazz collection and soul collection. And ooh, man, I just thought about some of those records that I'm definitely gonna pull out for the next video, for the next dollar video. Anyway, man, I picked up some incredible stuff in there, and this was one of the pieces I picked up. $1.99. Rap. Those who know this song needs no introduction. Rap stands for Roy Ayers Music, whatever. Anyway, it's an incredible album. I'm not even gonna get into it. Those who know, and those who don't know, you might want to find out. $1.99 all day. The last record I want to show you, I love this record. This is Common Sense Can I Borrow a Dollar promo album. And this is the original pressing of it, because the picture sleeve version of this didn't come out until later. This is the original. It's got the hype sticker on there. I found this at a record show in Milwaukee back in the 90s when this came out. And back then, record shows were a little different. Most of the vendors at record shows were these, older white couples, or these, these white vendors, and they didn't take a lot of black music seriously at all, especially rap music. So when they would come across this stuff, they would put them in dollar boxes and they stick them on the floor, like under the table. So while a lot of the patrons were up top digging, I'm down on my hands and knees, and I'm going through the crates and the boxes that are on the ground, because they were like, get this black music stuff out of here. We don't, this stuff is, And I was down there in there deep, pulling out all of these $1 records. This was mint condition, never played. And so your boy had to. I used to grab stuff like this all the time. And this was the norm. This was the norm back then. I remember going to Vegas. This was probably mid 2000s. And there was a store called, we all remember, Hip Hop Site, the best store Vegas ever produced. And then right across the street was a record store called Big B's. Those that are familiar with the Vegas area know these stores that I'm talking about. So you have Big B's on one side, then across the street in a little strip mall, you had Hip Hop Site, and then there's a side street, and then there was another little strip mall, and in that little strip mall there was a record store called Balcony Lights. Do any of you guys remember Balcony Lights in Vegas? Well, they really specialized in rock music. They were rocker guys that worked in there and all of that. And I remember going in there, and once again, all of the black music was in crates underneath on the floor, and they were just focused on the rock stuff. So I just remember finding so much R&B and so many rap albums. I mean, I remember finding the first NWA in there. Again, I had all of that stuff when it came out, but I'm buying all of these records for 99 cents. I bought a whole entire crate of records in Balcony Lights of R&B and rap music. And 90% of it I just brought it home and resold it for a crap load of money. But I used to love that. But eventually, people, they caught on, and they started raising their prices gradually. So that's sort of like a thing of the past. It still happens here or there, especially in parts of the country where you don't have a real big black population, if any, and the vendors don't, know about or care about looking up this, black music. in general. You can still find deals like that. So I'm still finding deals like that, but it's nothing like it was back in the 90s. In fact, at that same here, I'll show you this for extra credit. This is the Common Sense Take It Easy 12-inch that I also pulled out of there for 99 cents. And these are OG because he's Common Sense. He's known as Common now, but he was Common Sense back then. So to find those was really, really cool for 99 cents. And who doesn't love Common? You know what I'm saying? So I had fun showing you some of these dollar records and where I got them from and the different places around the country, and how I came to acquire them. And those kind of stories, they are almost never ending. So if you would, for those of you who enjoyed this video, and you're a record collector, leave me a comment and tell me some of the records, some of the great records that you found for 99 cents, a dollar, or even a couple bucks. Tell me what they were. I would love to hear what you found. All right? So that's all for now. Thank you guys for joining me. This is Daryl D TV. I will see you next time. Be safe, y'all.